In the misty depths of the Congo's old-growth forest, a shimmering white figure gleams like the jungle's own spirit. It's Keto, a rare albino baby gorilla carrying a silent secret. When Park Ranger Helen Winters finds it, she doesn't just see a lost animal, but a strange signal illuminating the haunting failure of the past. Is this her last chance to believe in the impossible? The early morning dew still clung to the broad leaves as Helen Winters trekked through the Congo National Park. A decade as a ranger had shown her everything from the deadly beauty of nature to human cruelty. But her greatest ghost was a failed rescue mission 2 years prior, when she couldn't save a trapped snow leopard. Its death haunted her, a constant reminder of her helplessness. Today, that feeling rose again as she found an unbelievable sight. A baby gorilla with a shimmering white coat, huddled on a dusty trail. It was unlike any creature she had ever seen. Sunlight filtering through the canopy created a faint halo around its rare albino fur. Keto, as his name meant light in the local dialect, truly was a miracle in the dark jungle. But the strangest thing was not his appearance, but a small collar with the satellite tracker of Dr. Thomas Miller, a renowned primatologist who had been missing for 3 days. Everyone assumed he had perished, lost in the treacherous forest. Her superiors ordered Helen to turn back, believing the search was hopeless. But Helen's intuition told her otherwise. Keto's deep brown eyes looked at her, full of intelligence and an indescribable sadness. He wasn't scared. He didn't run away. He seemed to be waiting, as if to say, "Follow me." He's still there. For Helen, this wasn't just a desperate clue. It was a final plea for help, a signal from the depths of the forest. She had failed once, and she wouldn't let it happen again. She decided to defy orders, trusting her gut. Her actions might be seen as madness, but deep down, Helen knew this was her chance at redemption, to regain her faith in herself and in the miracles that nature could offer. That decision wasn't just a brave act. It was a gamble on a fragile glimmer of hope. She looked deep into Keto's eyes, finding a sense of camaraderie. The baby gorilla gave a slight nod, as if understanding her resolve. Helen stood up, grabbed her radio, and told her superiors she would continue the search, knowing she would face opposition and punishment. But none of that mattered anymore. What mattered was finding Thomas Miller, to prove that Keto wasn't just an animal, but a messenger of hope. Their story, a tale unlike any other, had just begun. Helen's decision was met with profound skepticism from her colleagues. They looked at her as if she were insane. "You want us to follow a baby gorilla into the middle of the jungle? That's a suicide mission," one of them exclaimed. Helen had to use all her experience and credibility to convince a small group of local rangers to come along. They reluctantly agreed, but the doubt was etched on their faces. They didn't believe in Helen's intuition. They only believed in the written rules of the jungle. Their journey began with Keto leading the way, moving with incredible agility. He didn't follow the usual trails, but veered onto paths that even the locals rarely took. The sounds of the ancient forest enveloped them. The incessant hum of insects, the echo of birds, and the earthy scent of the dense vegetation. The air was thick with tension. Occasionally, Keto would turn back to look at Helen, his intelligent eyes seemingly reassuring her, like a guide who knew the way by heart. Each time Keto looked back, Helen's own doubts vanished a little more. The rangers' anxiety intensified when they found recent traces of an abandoned poacher's camp nearby. A few scattered bullet casings, some rudimentary traps, and fresh footprints.
Did you hear
Rumors
that?
of a dangerous poaching gang had long been known, and their proximity made the situation even more perilous. It was clear they were venturing into a highly dangerous area. The rangers looked at Helen with questioning, wary eyes. Had Thomas Miller been captured by this group, and Keto was a lost pet? Or was the situation more complex? The poacher's tracks made the search more urgent and dangerous than ever. Keto continued to lead, unfazed. He moved smoothly and with purpose, as if he knew exactly where he needed to go. He wasn't just following a random path, but seemed to be on a predetermined route. Whenever Helen hesitated, Keto would look back as a silent encouragement. Gradually, the Ranger's skepticism began to fade, replaced by a sense of curiosity and a fragile hope. As the sun set, they came to a rocky area. Keto suddenly stopped. He didn't move anymore, just let out soft, urgent cooing sounds. He looked into a deep, dark ravine. Helen and the Rangers approached, holding their breath. They didn't know what was waiting for them down there. Was this the end of the line or a deadly trap? In the deep, dark ravine, in the dim light of their flashlights,
Are you all right?
they found Thomas Miller.
Just a little bit.
He lay there, leg broken, body shivering with fever after 3 days of being trapped. His appearance was a miracle. Thomas Miller saw Keto and gave a weak, loving smile. He reached out his hand towards him, and Keto rushed over, nuzzling his head against his hand like a long-lost friend. Helen and the Rangers immediately began first aid. In his delirium, Thomas Miller began to tell the story of Keto, a story no one could have imagined. He had been studying the albino gorilla since it was a baby. Keto was special not just for his appearance, but for his intelligence and empathy. He can sense human emotions. He learns so fast, faster than any animal I've ever studied, Thomas Miller said, his voice hoarse. He had trained him to be a guide for his conservation research, helping him access areas that humans couldn't. Keto was his colleague, his friend, not just a research subject. When he fell and got trapped with a broken leg and unable to move, Thomas Miller knew his chances of survival were almost zero. Although he knew no one could find him, he didn't despair. In that moment of desperation, I had an idea, he recounted, a crazy idea, but also my last absolute belief. Thomas Miller took off his satellite tracker, the device used to monitor researchers, and attached it to Keto's collar. I told him in every way I could that he had to go. Go to a place where people could find him.
You understand?
I bet everything on his intelligence and loyalty. Keto understood, and he didn't let him down. He carried the tracker, traveled through the most treacherous paths, and found people. His journey wasn't a coincidence. It was a mission entrusted to him, a high-risk gamble.
Oh my
Thomas
God.
Miller's story stunned Helen and the entire Ranger team. It was not just a rescue. It was living proof of a special bond, a deep empathy between humans and animals. Listening to Miller's story, Helen's haunting memories faded. Now, she no longer saw the helplessness of the past, but only a glimmer of hope for the future. She had not failed. She had put her faith in the right place. After his recovery, Thomas Miller quickly regained his strength.
Welcome
He
to our
and Helen,
presentation on the
now
future
kindred
of
spirits,
wildlife conservation.
presented a revolutionary project,
We are
the
excited to share
Wildlife
our findings with you
Ambassadors.
today.
This project
Animals
wasn't
are
just for
integral
animal
to our
conservation,
lives.
but aimed to
From
train
rescue
animals to
missions to
assist
scientific
humans in rescue,
breakthroughs and even
research,
education.
and community education. Keto, with his legendary story, became the symbol, the living proof of this extraordinary potential. The project received widespread support from scientists and conservation organizations worldwide, breathing new life into the industry. However, Keto's story also
The
reached
albino
those with
gorilla.
bad intentions. A dangerous group of poachers, known for hunting rare animals, set their sights on Keto because of his unique albino fur. The beauty that saved Thomas Miller now made Keto a target. The threat was no longer the skepticism or danger of the deep forest, but human greed. Both Helen and Thomas Miller realized they had to protect not just the project, but Keto himself. Helen, with her extensive experience, became the main protector for Keto and the project. She had to use all her knowledge of the terrain, all her skills in tracking and misdirection to ensure Keto was always safe. She had failed once in the past, and now she had found her new purpose, to be the guardian of what was precious, of the special bond between humans and nature that she had witnessed. The conflict wasn't just a simple chase. It was a battle between two worldviews, one of endless greed and the other of love and empathy.
Here in the heart of
Thomas
the jungle,
Miller
we have
continued his
Keto,
work, spreading the
a
project's
truly
message
unique
with Keto.
albino.
He proved that Keto was not just a symbol, but a teacher and a friend. Every time Keto appeared, he brought a story of intelligence, courage, and connection. But hidden behind this success was a silent battle, a relentless pursuit to protect a symbol. Helen knew that as long as greed existed, This fight would never end. The rescue of Thomas Miller wasn't just a personal victory. It was living proof of the potential of the Wildlife Ambassadors Project. The story of Keto, from a hunted animal, became a global symbol. His empathy spread throughout the world, bringing widespread support from donors and communities. With significant resources, the Keto Conservation and Education Center was established, becoming a modern complex where humans and animals learn and grow together. Keto, the light of the Congo jungle, now became an ambassador for the natural world. He was no longer just a rare albino animal, but a symbol of hope, courage, and trust. His story was taught in schools, inspiring millions worldwide. The story of a gorilla saving a human proved that connection doesn't need language, only understanding. And Helen, she found peace in her soul. The ghost of her past was replaced by a new purpose. She became the center's director, the guardian of a precious legacy, a special bond she had believed in from the very beginning. She didn't just protect Keto, she protected a philosophy that empathy between humans and animals can create miracles, that a small act of faith can change an entire world. Helen's life was redefined. She was no longer a ranger haunted by failure, but a creator of hope. The story of Keto and Helen is a gentle but powerful reminder. Courage isn't just about facing danger, but about believing in the impossible. They prove that true miracles aren't supernatural events, but the magic hidden within every creature, in every act of love and connection.